This video will aim to illustrate the case study of Brazil and the effects that globalization has had on their poorest. First off, it is important to define globalization. It is a process of interaction and integration among the people, companies, and governments of different nations, a process driven by international trade and investment and aided by information technology. This process has an effect on the environment, on culture, on political systems, on economic development and prosperity, and on the human physical well-being in societies around the world. Globalization has always existed, but modern globalization started in the 19th century thanks to the industrialization that allowed for the cheap production of household items using economies of scale. In the past few years, globalization has grown really quickly thanks to the development of new technology. There has been suggestions that globalization has an association with rising inequality and that the poor do not always share in gains from trade. This is due to an abundance of unskilled labor, which do not always gain from trade reforms. In fact, is one of the biggest concerns by globalization's critics. Overall, globalization did not only produce winners but losers as well among the poor. Brazil has been a big welcoming country for immigrants in the southeastern, being the prime destination for many years after the importation of African slaves in the mid-19th century. Brazil sought for Europeans and later Asians to work in agriculture, and especially coffee cultivations. Nowadays, most immigrants come from Argentina, Chile, and Arabian countries. Brazil has a population of 200 million, 7,000, yada yada, with a median age of 32 years, and has a growth population of 0.73%. Brazil, although, has not taken full advantage of its working class population to develop itself. As many workers are unskilled or are working in the informal markets, but its opening of borders has allowed to bring back some of the missing skills. The first forces of globalization in Brazil were colonial forces. Although colonization is arguably differs from the type and degree of exploitation, they both share similarities regarding the unproportional exchange of resources and goods or services. In the 1500s, Brazil was first discovered by Portugal, which led to coastal colonization resulting in deforestation and exploitation of plantation workers, finally subsiding in 1822 with the Declaration of Independence, yet not detracting from their legacy of being one of the most unequal countries in the world, where 34% of the population were poor. For a long time, Brazil was one of the most closed economies in the world, until it underwent a period of trade and financial liberalization between 1988 and 1994, opening itself full force to globalization, showing positive effects on their GDP, as well as reducing poverty and inequality. However, the standard of living and indicators such as health and education are less clear, and globalization appears to have a negative impact on unemployment. The effects globalization has had on Brazil in regards to poverty, unemployment, and inequalities. Regarding poverty, in recent decades, the economic rise of Brazil has reshaped the global economy. One of the most important effects has been the sharp fall in the number of people living in absolute or dollar-a-day poverty and the emergence of a new middle class. But poverty hasn't gone away. Indeed, many emerging and developing countries' relative poverty is proving stubborn, persistent, and unequal, and is widening. Relative poverty is the condition in which people lack the minimum amount of income needed in order to maintain an average standard of living in a society in which they live, and this has increased as much as 11% in 2017, resulting in 7% of the population living below the unemployment line. The strong growth in unemployment during the recession has led to half of the population moving to the informal markets, resulting in a significant loss of income. Such jobs contribute to inequality by paying less than formal jobs, rarely offering benefits for training and promotion, and they are unpredictable, resulting in workers finding themselves without income in very short notice. The number of Brazilians who have given up looking to work has tripled, representing 4.6 millions of Brazilians are still deprived of the most basic health care, remaining illiterate and living in poverty. Most live in favelas because the city's inability to offer them work and comfort welcome. Despite globalization, Brazil remains a country of very uneven developed regions in terms of the population distribution and economic development. There are many programs initiated by the government to ensure Brazil keeps moving forward. One of these programs is the Bolsa Familia program created in 2004, the social safety net in low-income setting distributions, some of the gains from growth while distributing to higher growth. Conditional cash transfers like the Brazil's Bolsa Familia have increased school attendance by compensating for poor households for the direct costs such as school fees, uniforms, and indirect costs such as foregone income because children go to school rather than work. There are some specifics, though. They monitor immunization cards and the growth and development of children under 7 years of age. Women aged 14 to 44 must undergo medical checks if they are pregnant or breastfeeding, and they must attend preparation classes for childbirth. All children and adolescents ages 6 to 15 must be enrolled at school and attend at least 85% of classes. Among other requirements, there are some critiques of the program, however, as some concerns have been raised based on the 1.7 million graduates that the program has created dependency. Despite this, the program, like Bolsa Familia, has uplifted the population and created an opportunity, are ones that Brazil feels very passionate and receive lots of recognition regarding. The next steps, however, to continue to increase productivity in Brazil and subsequently for the poor are listed by the World Bank as such: increase infrastructure, develop a complex tax program, increase regulations in public and private investment, and increase innovation spending to stimulate a competitive economy. Thank you.